We're live though.
We are on YouTube probably.
See this? This line all the way down your truck?
What the hell?
Open mic, Kurt.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's now 5 p.m. on June the 8th, 2021. We are starting the Parks, Recreation, Human Services, Public Safety Committee meeting. We are joined by Councilmember Greg Baruso and Councilmember Lydia Acevedo, as well as Council President Susan Honda. Call the meeting to order. And Ms. Janicki, is there any public comment?
No, there is not.
Thank you so much. So we'll move on to committee business, where the first item on the agenda is the approval of the May 11th, 2021 minutes.
I have a comment.
Do I hear? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have a comment.
Go ahead, Councilmember.
Yeah, in the minutes, we have, hold on. Okay, so we talk about the slide update, FWCC slide update. Mm-hmm. And then following that is the public comment, but I think public comment should come after police reform and accountability title-wise. I think it's misplaced.
Okay. Would you be amenable to leaving it in this place at this point, but moving it the next time for the next minutes?
Well, isn't that when you called on Representative Johnson to speak, though?
It actually is. He came in to speak later than the normal public comment. That's correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So
could we still move it? It just looks misplaced, but I don't know. Okay, if that's the.
It's actually where he did speak at that point. Is
okay.
When he was recognized. Comment. Okay. All right.
But it just seems out of place because
it does. I understand. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion for approval.
And okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the May 11th, 2021 minutes. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. So now we're moving on to the first item on the agenda, which is the police body worn camera program. Is Commander Neal here, or is it Kurt Schwan that's going to be speaking?
It'll be Commander Schwan.
Okay, thank you, Commander. Go ahead, please.
So you have in front of you a packet, and good evening, Council Committee members. Thank you for taking the time to review it. I know it's a little bit longer than some of the ones I've submitted previously for jail stuff and whatnot, but we're looking at the implementation of body-worn cameras, and what I've put together for you are the financial impacts and how we reached a decision to go with the Axon system as well. So a little background information into it. In the first paragraph of the background information, we talk about why we use body-worn cameras. Not only is it something that we're transitioning to throughout law enforcement, it's also a good transparency tool for us to be able to show the community that we're doing things the way we're supposed to be doing, but also holding ourselves accountable if we end up finding out something that we're doing that we're not supposed to be doing. But it also assists in hopefully keeping citizens in check too, knowing that they're being videotaped and audio taped. Maybe we not run into so many issues that we tend to run into when people aren't being videotaped. So about mid-2020, we started looking into this. It wasn't the first time we looked into it, but it was the most recent time that we looked into it. Over this period since then, we identified 3 of the major retailers and distributors of this equipment, invited them to the police department, and hosted them upstairs in council chambers. So we had enough room to spread out and do demonstrations of all of their equipment. After that process, it was kind of clear to everyone who was there, because we had stakeholders from IT, our records division, all of our labor groups, as well as the command staff. So it was kind of a given that Axon kind of was above the rest when we actually reviewed all the options and availabilities and features that were available through this program. And we also have a contract with them already with regard to tasers. So they're also the producer of our tasers. So we have a good working relationship with them. We know their business style. We know the product that we're going to get. So that was another huge selling point for us. So if you scroll down to the bottom, we talked about the financial obligations and whatnot. And right above that, we didn't just do our own research too. I did reach out to some of the local agencies here that are using the Axon body camera system, which are Tukwila, Kent, and Tacoma PD. And they all had positive things to say and really no negatives. Axon will be the first one to tell you too, in a point of trying to sell their merchandise, is that of the 70% of all agencies that use body-worn cameras in the United States are using Axon cameras. So that should say something about that system. So we look at the equipment and we do 143 body-worn camera licenses because we have 137 sworn, 2 animal services, and 4 jail transport. The goal here is that for anyone that goes out and does any citizen contacts whatsoever, they will have a body camera on. So that goes all the way up to the chief, because the chief is out in the public and has public contacts, and those can be recorded. So it goes to break down everything for you, the actual price of each body camera, the docking bays that are utilized to download and charge the cameras at the station, and an implementation and training for the body-worn camera and the TASER 7. So entering into this program, it's not only the body-worn cameras that we'll be taking care of, but it'll also be entering into a new contract for tasers, which we already currently have with them. We're going into the 4th year of a 5-year contract with Taser, the Axon, for our tasers. And with that, they've bought us out of our contract and given us a $50,000 credit for the current Taser contract and are getting us into the next Taser contract. So whatever it is, whether we go with this body camera or not, eventually in 2 years, we would have to renew our Taser contract anyway. This way it's bundled together. It's all taken care of in one place and it's all addressed. And the benefit to that is that the tasers are linked up with the camera as well, which they wouldn't be with any other camera system. Once the taser is turned on, it activates the camera if the camera is not already on for the officer. So that's a big highlight for it as well. If we scroll further down, we see the personnel. I've spoke with Ryan and Thomas and Diane down here in public records and got the estimates for 1 FTE, and then also spoke with IT with regard to new workstations, which is a one-time expense at $10,000 a piece, plus M&O for all the computer systems and whatnot that need to be implemented for these employees, and have provided you the total salary expense for the first year as well. So with that, if we were to go with the first year, breaking it down into a 5-year plan, the first year with only the salary and the equipment is $942,761. $942,761,000. So I'm sure the next question is, how do we pay for this? Well, Tim Johnson is my financial guru with regard to that. So what he has done is he's put me in touch with some information that he is currently reviewing to present to you next Tuesday with regard to the American Rescue Plan Act. So there are multiple ways for us to pay for this plan and this program. The question is, however you decide to do it. There's a straight grant program that we are looking at trying to enter into, where the government is a 50-50 plan, where we would come up with 50% of the total cost, and then a DOJ grant for body-worn cameras specifically could be utilized for the other 50%. There's also utilizing revenue deficit funds that we're going to receive through the American Rescue Plan Act to just completely pay for the entire thing altogether. So with that, like I said, there are multiple ways to pay for this, and I think Tim's going to provide you a much more detailed explanation and different ideas and routes for us to take care of that. So I don't want to get too deep into the weeds there, but he has assured me that the finances are there somehow for us to be able to pay for this program. Being that as well, I'd like to put on the fact that I think Tim is going to be recommending the hiring of a professional grant writer for several grants, not only this grant that we're looking at for DOJ for body-worn cameras, but also for other citywide grants, to bring someone on to do a professional job with applying for these grants, realizing that they are much more skilled so in the terminologies and everything else that these grant approvers are looking for. I think it'd be wise for you to consider that option when Tim presents it to you. With that, I think you have everything that I'm able to share with you tonight. I am in the middle of doing finalizing a PowerPoint to be presented during the council next week, so you'll have that as well. But if you have any questions, I'm open to that.
Thank you. Thank you, Commander. So I see that committee member Greg Russo had his hand up. Did you want to speak?
Yes, thank you, Chair Kortmar. Thank you, Commander Swan, for this report. I just had a question. You talked about that with the tasers and the cameras they turn on when the taser's triggered. Can the cameras be manually turned off after that point, if needed?
The cameras can be turned on manually and turned off manually at any time. However, the policies that will be written by the police department will indicate when they can and when they cannot.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee member Lydia Sevadasan.
Thank you, Council Chair Kortmar. And thank you for the presentation. The 3 personnel that we're talking about, they're only coming on board because of this program, or is that something we need already?
I would say this is specifically for this program. Now, I'll explain to you the reason we are asking for an additional attorney in law is because they're going to need to review all the additional footage. So when I reached out to the other agencies, they told me that was one of the largest increases in workload was to the legal office, because if you have 2 or 3 officers that respond to a call and it ends up going to court, the attorneys are going to need to review all of the footage from all of those officers. So that's an added work expense or work time or workload for law. For information technology, obviously we're going to be adding a lot of information technology here with all the cameras and the systems and the server stuff, as well as in-car information, the tasers. It's a huge increase to our information technology. So an IT person to assist with that would greatly assist. And then obviously with body cameras, we start to get increased records requests. Now the state has passed certain laws that limit the amount or what can be requested regarding body-worn camera footage. It's a little bit different than written documentation, so it limits a little bit, but it's still out there to be requested.
And so we can ask the state for more additional money then?
For what?
To help us with the funding. Outside of the DOJ funds that we're requesting?
That I don't know.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And if I could add, I was being actually pretty conservative with one extra prosecutor. We did not add any extra paralegal, is what we call our admin support. This is going to be a dramatic increase in their workload as well. So there could be a time in the future where we're going to need to come back and ask for an additional administrative assistant or a paralegal because of this program. But I didn't include it here. I think we can start it at least and see how it goes with just the one lawyer position.
Okay, thank you all. Council President Honda.
Thank you. Thanks for being here, Commander. So I have a few questions. When will the policies for the use of the body cams be ready for council to review, or would we even review those? Is that
once the policy is published, it's available to anybody. I've currently finished a draft policy, which I provided to the 3 labor groups because they need to be negotiated and agreed upon. And the chief has, I believe, an appointment scheduled towards the end of the month with the guild's labor representatives, as well as the city's attorneys, to sit down and start hammering through that information.
Okay. So I understand we need to have these cameras in place and ready for use by January 1st?
That would be the best case scenario because, as you can see, the reforms that are coming down are going to, some of those require us to audio and videotape, if not at least audio tape, a majority of the context that we have with regard to investigations. So this is probably the most simple way to get that accomplished is by issuing a camera to all those involved.
Will this be enough time to get that going? And when will we need to hire the 3 staff positions?
My recommendation would be as soon as you are ready to approve this program is that we start the hiring process. Axon has assured me that it wouldn't be more than a few weeks that they're on top of it and be able to be here and get things going. However, I don't think we're in that big of a rush. I think we do have an urgency here, and it could be implemented beforehand. But I think January 1 is actually a good date for us to push for. It gives us time to get everything hammered out with the labor groups, the policies. It gives us time to get Taser and Axon on site to give us training to make sure we're up and running and ready to go January 1, not walking out and doing the training January 1.
Right. I have a question after I asked my other questions that just came to me. So in talking with Tim Johnson, the ARPA money can pay for the equipment, but not the staff, is what I understand. So do the staff salaries come out of the general budget, or how is that going to work? So
I've heard a little bit different because I spoke with both Tim and I spoke with Director in Finance, Arula, and they seem to be working out things where the director believes that, Finance Director believes that the revenue recovery of the loss that we have incurred can be spent for anything, including the salaries of the employees. However, there are specific points at some point where anything that's applied for a grant in excess of the revenues may not be eligible for that. So it depends on how you want to break down the spending of the money that the government's willing to provide for us for the revenue loss that we incurred during the epidemic.
Okay. So, okay. As long as we have the funding available to get these people hired now, I guess we worry about some of those things later.
I think I will have to say Tim will be much better to answer your money questions during your workshop on Tuesday. And then I think he has actually scheduled to speak before us during council business as well.
Yes.
So, I think that's probably I don't want to step too far into their realm because I know Tim has spent a lot of time. He's got a full table of paperwork laid out upstairs in a conference room that he's working through right now.
Okay. And one final question for you. When officers are in training at the academy, are they taught how to use the body cams? Is that something that is a course that they're taught?
No,
so
it's
that
not.
They know what? No?
No, it's not, because not all agencies have it, so they don't take the time to. Sorry, I'm getting phone calls about the incident that happened earlier. No, they don't take the time to teach all of the recruits about things that they probably wouldn't all be exposed. Okay. It'd be something that would be done here, and it's a relatively quick and painless process. The biggest thing is one of the great values of Axon is they have a storage system that allows us to go in and log everything. It's called evidence.com, and the officers are able to add information there. They're able to download their video footage and tag things to be saved for evidence. That program also dictates, transcribes the spoken word to written word, so it helps officers bring statements out at a quicker pace. So that would be the biggest thing. The camera is I would have to say almost foolproof. We all played with that upstairs in council chambers when we had the demonstrations, and it's very rugged. It's very foolproof. It only has a couple buttons on it. It's more the back office stuff that'll take a little bit more time with the training.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. We've been joined by Councilmember Leander Kraft, and she has a question. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Coach Moore, and thank you, Commander Schwan, for being here today and for the presentation. First, I just want to say that I'm really happy that the recommendation was to go with Axon. I find their cameras really high quality, and evidence.com is really easy to use. So I'm happy that that's the recommendation. The other question I had is, I'm pretty sure, but I was wondering if you could confirm for me that when an Axon camera turns on automatically, for example, with a taser, doesn't it also record, I think, the prior 10 seconds or maybe a few more seconds prior to it automatically turning on?
So it has, I can't remember the exact terminology that they used when they described it to us, but it has a delay process.
Okay.
Once the camera is initiated, whether it be by taser or by person, it actually captures the previous 30 seconds.
Okay.
And actually that can be set at the department's preference as well. It can be set to a minute, it can be set to 10 seconds, it can be set to 30 seconds. But what I'm hearing nationally is the national recommendation is about 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Right. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, do I hear a motion?
Chair Coach Moore, make a motion.
I move to forward.
Go ahead, lady.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
Are you asking a
you
question?
started. Go ahead. No. I was going to do it, but go ahead. You started.
Okay. I move to forward the proposed agreement to the June 15, 2021 City Council Business Agenda for approval.
And I second.
All right. It's been moved and seconded to move the proposed agreement to the June 15, 2021 City Council Business Agenda for approval. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. And thank you, Commander Schwan. I know you're very busy at this moment. Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. So now we're moving on to item C, the ordinance repealing the criminalization of the possession of drug paraphernalia in response to state preemption on the subject. And Ryan Call is up for this.
Thank you, Chair Coach Moore. Good evening, everybody. We actually I have two items on for tonight. They're both ordinances to repeal two laws that we passed, one quite a while ago and one recently in response to the Blake decision. So just to remind everybody, the Blake decision was a Washington Supreme Court case that basically said that the statute that criminalized simple possession of drugs was unconstitutional because it lacked a criminal intent element. We struggled with how to respond to that, and every jurisdiction handled it differently. A lot of jurisdictions just stopped enforcing the law. Federal Way took the position of passing an ordinance, and that will be the second item, item D, to have a local criminal statute on the books preventing or criminalizing possession of drugs. Recognizing that there was going to be this kind of mishmash of laws across the state, and also that there was a gap in the law, the state legislature acted to create their own solution, and that's what's been known as State Bill 5476. Both of these ordinances are now basically preempted. They are preempted. They are in conflict now with state law. So I'm going to explain first item C, which is the ordinance we currently have on the books and have had for some time, a local prohibition on possession of drug paraphernalia. Everybody knows that 5476 talked about possession of drugs, but what some people have not noticed is that it also crossed out several of the types of drug paraphernalia, basically just crossed them out as not criminal anymore. So I'm going to share my screen just so I can show you the actual text, because it's good to see. So can you see the one paragraph
Yeah.
there? So you can see that they basically I think the thought here, I mean, I didn't talk to the legislature, but I think the thought here was to keep things that are used to create or cultivate or grow drugs, but decriminalize anything for using or storing drugs. So anything used to test, pack, repack, baggies, that was a common tactic that local jurisdiction, if a county prosecutor declined to prosecute possession of cocaine, sometimes we would prosecute possession of the bag that the cocaine was in, because we didn't have jurisdiction over the cocaine locally, but we could charge for drug paraphernalia. All of that's gone. So these are all crossed out of the state law. So this now conflicts with our local law. So the proposed ordinance is very short and sweet. It basically just repeals sections 40, there we go, 40, 50, and 60 of Chapter 6.10 of the Federal Revised Code. And it will, those things that are still criminal under state law, so those things used to manufacture drugs, are still criminal and could be prosecuted by the county as violations. So are there any questions about the proposed ordinance?
Council committee? Any other questions from anyone else? Seeing none, do I hear a motion?
Chair Korchmar, I make a motion.
Mm-hmm.
I move to forward proposed ordinance to first reading on June 15th, 2021.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded by Baruso and Aceva-Dawson to forward to first reading on June 15th. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much. So now, Ryan, you have the second ordinance.
I do. So the second one is even more straightforward. The city council passed an ordinance in April criminalizing possession of marijuana as a gross misdemeanor. We didn't even get a chance to codify it. It hasn't been sent to the codifier yet. So it's never been put in our code. So there's no Federal Way Revised Code to reference. So the ordinance simply states that council will repeal ordinance number 21-911, which was the ordinance passed in April. So it's a very short ordinance. Are there any questions?
Okay, seeing none, do I hear a motion?
Okay. I can do it. I move to forward the proposed ordinance to first reading on June 15th, 2021.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Aceva-Dawson and seconded by Councilmember Baruso to move to forward the proposed ordinance to first reading on June 15, 2021. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Ryan. I see Council President has her hand up.
Oh.
Council President, you're muted. Thank you. I saw that but didn't do anything. So Ryan, if one of our police officers were to stop somebody and they have drugs on their person, what are they supposed to do at this point? Are they, they have a card they can give out saying to seek treatment, but how do they keep track of how many times they've stopped somebody?
So the police department is working on a process for that. They have basically we're going to track contacts locally in the Spillman system. They're going to take a picture of them. I think the MOS actually, if possible, we're going to fingerprint them with what's a mobile AFIS. It's a mobile fingerprinting machine that also will run the name, just like up here at the station. It's just a mobile unit. If one of those isn't available, they'll photograph the person. That's just to document the first and second contact that's required before the charges can be referred to the prosecutor. Right now, there aren't the State Bill 5476. Most of it talks about treatment programs and what those are going to be like and who's going to run them. None of those are set up right now. So right now, the referrals are going to be to it's a list. I think there's a list of about 20 providers, but there's not a lot besides giving them the list at this point, because there's no one. They're all for fees. They're none of them are free. So I'm not sure how effective as a treatment diversion that is going to be, but it'll meet the letter of the law. And as far as the drugs go, they'll seize the drugs. They're contraband. They're still illegal. The first and second contacts, the intent is to bring the drugs back to the station, book them into evidence, and then destroy them as contraband. We're not going to keep them. And then if someone actually gets charges referred, then we'll keep them as evidence and send them to the drug lab to be tested. So I think they're going to be doing field drug tests and NIC tests just to verify that they're drugs for the first and second contact. But that's the extent of the program so far. It's going to be just our own contacts. We don't have a way to check other jurisdictions' contacts at this point. Frankly, by the time the state gets its act together and has some sort of maybe systematic approach that's statewide, this provision will be sunsetted. So I don't know if it's going to persist after this first, I guess, test period of a few years, but that's our plan. So we didn't want to just ignore it. They're definitely going to seize drugs, which frankly is probably the biggest deterrent. People don't like, if you're a heroin user, you don't like your heroin getting seized. So that's, if the goal is to keep it out of sight, I think the fear was that people are starting to just use it openly, or they would start using it openly. I don't know if it's actually going to change a lot of behavior for a hard drug user, but at least they won't just do it right out in public.
So what about if you're a minor?
Minors, it's an entirely different thing. It's a juvenile offense, and the law is not changed on that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. I see that Councilmember Kraft, you had your hand up. Did you have a question?
Yeah, but then I think that it's probably a question better directed towards the chief. But I can ask Ryan. I guess my question, I think again, this is probably more for the chief, but I'm wondering how many contacts there really if there are more contacts with simple possession, or there are more contacts with dealing, because, obviously the dealing law is still in place, or the PWI laws are still in place. So I guess I wonder how much it's going to, I know it's going to impact. So
I did talk to the chief about this quite a bit, because when we had our own local ordinance, we were wondering how much of impact it was going to have. And so systematic investigation work is not pointed at simple possession. You're right. It's drug dealers, and the law on that hasn't really changed.
Yeah.
The law, everything is still as it was before. Simple possession, most of the cases are, they stumble into them.
Okay.
Inventory searches, they stop someone for something else. They're searching for weapons, and
then they
find
see
drugs.
the drugs. Yeah.
So that is a different thing. That thing that's new to this is that we now need to prove intent. So there's going to need to be a discussion with someone and say, or catch them with paraphernalia. There's going to have to be some corroboration that they know that they're drugs, not just that they have them on their person or they're in their car somewhere. So that it will require some more investigation than they have done in the past. But all told, they said that in the past we were referring less than 60 cases a year for simple possession. And frankly, given some of the other constraints of the new police reform laws as to Terry stops and being able to to contact people, contacts are going to be down anyway. So I think the numbers will be lower.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Council President Honda, your hand is still up.
Oh, when the meeting is before it's adjourned, I'd like to ask Jason something.
Okay, we're at other. We're well, this would be the time.
Okay. Jason, is there going to be any concerts in the parks this summer?
And yeah, we are planning to do the summer concert series in the park. I know Cody was working on that. We have a parks managers meeting on that, and so if he's got the schedule lined out, I know he was a couple of weeks ago. He was talking to entertainers and stuff like that. But yeah, we are looking to put that on this year, and so as we get information, we'll try to send council the flyer and get it up on Facebook and that sort of thing. But yeah, we are pushing to try to have that.
Oh, awesome! I'm very excited about that. So
okay, and
great.
And
Thank
of
you.
course we've canceled the 4th of July, so
Yes.
I think most people do realize that by now. But will we be having movies?
Movies,
again?
we are shooting for movies as well. Yes.
That'd be wonderful. Okay.
Could we do a movie on 4th of July?
I think that would have to be discussed. The thing that I could say right now is lots of people are looking for things to do, and the movie companies are few and far between. And so, would we even be able to get the date? Again, I'll make a note of that, and I'll call Cody even before our parks managers meeting tomorrow. I'll put an email into him and just say, hey, do you think any movie companies are available on the 4th? But my hunch is it's going to be a stretch because everybody out there is looking to book and schedule stuff right now and that. Okay. So, but I hear your request, and let me see what information I can find and get back to you.
People keep asking me what's going on in Federal Way for the 4th. What can we do? And
yeah,
Yeah.
we're just such teetering on that. You know, we had that drop off last summer, and that drop. You know, we're having a drop off now, and you know, just as the facilities manager and thinking about some of this stuff, you know, I'm just fingers crossed that we don't get another spike here in the fall. And so let's hope our citizens continue to get vaccinated and we get this community moving forward, and we can have these events in the coming year because we're all ready for them.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. No.
Thank you very much. So we're now at the end of our meeting. Is there anything other for the good of the order? Seeing none, thank you all for being here this evening. Our next meeting will be July 13th, 2021 at 5 p.m. Hopefully in person at some point, but right now I think it's still Zoom. So,
no,
all right. Well,
it should be in person.
Wow, that'd be interesting. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all. Thank you, Leandra. Thank you all so much. Thank you. We are adjourned at 5:36 p.m.
Have a good
night.
evening.
Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.